probably tell, I'm a huge fan of YouTube. I love the opportunities that it presents to people who have limited technology but lots to say. Ideas that they feel like sharing and expressing with others. There are video responses to video proposals. And this is really a fascinating thing. And as a sociology and anthropology guy, this fascinates me. And so I'm very glad and honored and proud to be in on it. But the big question is, as I've noted, one of quality. And ultimately, anyone who posts anything for others to see, be it graphic art, be it music, be it video, or be it something like a book or a movie, you know, something that is very clearly, generally anyway, got a very distinct narrative. Even that is representative of the author as a person. No, I'm not saying that there's necessarily autobiographical elements to everything that we create or produce, though I think there's a strong argument for that. Ultimately, it came from us, you know, and the fact is, we are walking collections. Each of us is a walking collection of the world around us, you know, and so it reflects us and also where we're from and how we view what we're into and how we view the world around us in a way that I guess it's kind of a quantified and condensed form of how we see ourselves in the greater context that in fact informed ourselves. And so it's this great feedback loop that I'm very much enjoying. But the question is, what do you want to add to the feedback loop? I mean, I'm adding this clearly. Now, is this a good or a bad thing? Well, I guess that's for the viewer to decide, and really, it's up to me to decide before I post. As you know, I'm not just going to post this live. This is not posted live. It's shot live and then submitted or sent to the interwebs, and then we go from there. So what I'm saying is, I have to watch this as well, you know. And sometimes when I look at these, when I review these, and I'm checking out what's going on, certain things happen that I feel kind of, you know, well, I don't know. Do I keep it? Do I not? As you know, I've pretty much had a policy, a very family-friendly, very across-the-board policy regarding imagery and language. No foul language for the most part on my show, and also, I want to keep things very nice to see, nothing offensive. That has somewhat shifted in some of my latest posts. There are some that involve, as I post, I post disclaimers, actually, if you check out the information section on YouTube. I don't on my site. It's just willy-nilly. Though, like I said, there's greater context because there's writing and the videos, particularly a lot of the older ones, are informed, further informed by writing and pictures that run in tandem. But some of my latest things, particularly, for instance, let's just be specific here, since I have a tendency to kind of just dive off into generalities. I posted, my last video post was one that was shot back, my very last shoot in Arkansas. That's my former, I guess that's my hometown, I don't know. Anyway, it's where I last lived for almost 11 years. And it was with a very good friend of mine, a man I've known, who, well, since he was a boy, since we were boys. 14, I think, is when I met him, and when I was 14. And I think we're around the same age, so he's, 28 or so. And it was about humor. It was called Humor Us. And it was all about humor and how it affects us as... I used to be funny, believe it or not. This show is pretty serious, I suppose. The show... I mean, anything that's funny on this show is kind of me bumbling around, traditionally, is how I see it anyway. Maybe that's just me. But it's not a particularly funny thing I've got going here. These are relatively serious issues that involve relatively serious conversation with people who are comical or not. And this particular guy that I interviewed, a longtime friend of mine, as I said, is very funny, very humorous. But it also has bits of seriousness in it, of course, because that's how we roll. We're very close. And in a lot of ways, very similar. But I found, as I was editing this video, that I wasn't able to cut one particularly foul word. It was the F word, known by some as the F-bomb. And I kept it because I didn't keep them all. The word was mentioned by myself and him several times throughout the interview, and many of them were cut. The audio was taken out. But on a certain occasion, and perhaps a few occasions, it was simply not. Now, why? What gives? Well, frankly, it was part of a punchline. And you do not mess around with a punchline in general, and you certainly, if you're going to have a post called Humor Us, and it's about humor and how being funny has shaped in a lot of ways how we go about our days as people, and how we specifically interact with others, you do not chop up a punchline. You don't. And so I didn't. But that meant I had broken one of my cardinal rules, and that is no foul language. And it forces me to reconceptualize my approach to all this in the name of quality. And what I mean by quality in this case is not necessarily is it good or bad. I don't think it's necessarily or innately either good or bad. I don't think foul language is necessarily foul, is what I'm saying. It's language. Certain words are foul in certain ways for certain people, but not everything is the same. There's no across the board here. Those certain words are known as bad words, and I think upon that we can agree. And so this certainly qualified as a bad word. But really what I'm saying here is it wasn't that, in terms of quality, had I taken out this bit of punchline, I think it would have hurt the overall quality of the piece. I think it certainly would have hurt the quality of his joke, and it was his joke. So I didn't want to do that in the name of quality. But in terms of the qualities of my site, one being that it has no foul language, I had clearly broken a rule. I had stepped onto the other side of the fence. And that really does change things quite a bit. And so when I'm looking at quality, specifically as I'm presenting myself, this is the only child review. Hello. I mean, that's me. It seems very egocentric, but I hope, and this is something that I explained to Mom, that I hope the greater body of what I'm presenting here provides at least additional understanding. If not complete, never complete. I'm not even completely understanding of what the hell I'm doing in general, in life. You know, it's the whole thing's a process. It's a journey. That's the fun of it. It's also why it's so scary and exhilarating and worthwhile. But I'm not saying that I have no destination per se. We all end up somewhere, but I don't have a destiny per se, certainly not in regard to my life, and that will be reflected or not reflected here on my show. So what I'm really getting at here is that quality is subjective, even in terms of your initial ideals. And it's important that for me, as the creator of this, a show that is clearly reflective of me as a person, it's important that I present myself to you in a way that is not entirely flattering, I guess, at times. It's not a goal of mine. I naturally come off in ways that don't exactly speak well of me. And I think this was really at the heart of my mom's concern, my dad's concern about some of the stuff I posted. I look, as a host of this show, as a host of this program, I look as though I'm in a lot of ways reverting to something that they knew from earlier in my life, which was not something you want to see on video, much less a video that's shown around the world for anyone to click on. I appreciated this. You know, my parents were right on the money, and I absolutely appreciate this concern. But I told them that really at a point, the question of quality is on its other side, one of honesty. And with a show like mine, honesty is, I think, integral to what makes it it. As you can see, I'm trying to have a very organic experience with you and myself as a result. You know, this has been somewhat of an eye-opening experience for me because, well, it's just all recorded. You know what I'm saying?